Hello everybody, my name is RagingRaptor, not really RagingRaptor because I'm fighting against the sickness at the moment. I don't know if my throat is a little bit infected, but whatever. Today I want to ask, the title suggests of this video, talk about why 1.4.1 is a bad update. And you now might ask yourself, wait, Raging, do you have a fever? Because why should an update which gives us free stuff be bad? And, well, let me give you my point and my view on that. First, I guess the best thing is we're going to go through 1.4.1 and see what they want to introduce and what they want to show us. Then I'm going to state my case why 1.4.1 is bad and show you different examples of what I mean in World of Tanks, and then I'll show you how other companies handle what I want to do. So yeah, quick little spoiler, it's going to be about balancing the game. But yeah, 1.4.1 gives us at the moment random rewards. This overall is a good addition. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. It's nice when you play decently well that you have a random chance of getting something. Especially if this random chance doesn't really be something that you can pay for. At the moment, there are rumors out there that you could pay or could buy those blueprints, but again, who knows? It's a good thing, I think. Those random rewards are nice. You can get blueprints, you get bonds, credits, consumables. It's especially nice for the free-to-play players out there, so that's decent. I personally don't really like the idea of blueprints because as far as I know, exactly, those blueprints make tanks cheaper to get. And I personally don't really like the idea of making tanks easier to get, but this is a whole other can of worms I want to touch on when I want to do about a video about talking how World of Tanks should change their grinding plans, or how to make people progress through the game. Another spoiler alert, personally I think especially high tier wheeled vehicles, the tier 8, the tier 9 and the tier 8 and the tier 9 ones really do have a good starting point. What I mean is that you have the option to either play the stock gun and be competitive, or use a little bit more experience to get a top gun which is slightly better. This especially means when you have the AML 6x6 Lynx tier 8 tank and you have the second gun, the second best gun, this should be the stock gun in my opinion. And when you look at the tier 9 tank, where you have the stock gun, which is basically the top tier 8 tank's gun, which is only marginal worse than the top gun. But again, a whole other different story. So yeah, those blueprints are great for people which don't have anything everything unlocked yet, and yes, it's decent, I guess. Next up, crew skins. Again, there's nothing bad about those. To be fair, it even could be a great opportunity for wargaming to sell things which do not give you an edge in combat, which are not broken or overpowered or stronger than their relative counterparts in the tech tree, aka premium tanks like Defender, like some people might want to argue IS-3A, etc., etc. Or even now the HWK-30. So yeah, those are actually not that bad of things. But if we scroll through all of those things, there is one thing which basically every other big gaming company, online gaming company is doing, which is missing here. And make a guess what it could be, guys. I'm going now to show you something. I know a lot of people won't like Fortnite. I don't play it myself either, so it's just an objective view which I have here. But let's just have a look at one of their latest patch notes. And one thing I see which is missing at the moment in World of Tanks is, oh look at that, reduce the availability of high tier assault rifles. So they're changing, playing around a little bit with numbers which influence the game. This also happened in their next following up update, where they changed the availability of infantry rifles. Okay, interesting, so they're changing something in the game. Let's take League of Legends, one of the probably most popular online games in the world. huge fan, huge fan base, huge esports. You can't really compare League of Legends with World of Tanks because they're two completely different genres. And League of Legends has something going for them, which is basically that it's a really skill-based game with minor RNG things, where World of Tanks relies a lot more on RNG and wants to be more casual for the broader, I should say the broader audience, which is, again, totally fine. But one thing I want to show you is that we could, in theory, treat champions and items a little bit as tanks in World of Tanks. So let's just have a look. Here we have a total big section about explaining why they are changing some things about this champion called Akali. Here we have another champion which is called Nico, which gets some changes with an explanation why. This guy gets an explanation why. This one has a change, this one has a change, and it goes on. There we have a little bit of a difference. There's an audio update. Here we have an item which gets changed. This gets changed. Change. Simple changes even. They're explaining, oh yeah, this champion called Cho'Gath could use a little bit of help early on. Maxing E will help him trade more meaningfully. So they're even giving explanations why they are changing something. But again, we are going to scroll now down through it a little bit. And this is where the base game ends. These things down here are just for a fun mode. Like it would be frontline for us. Here are just some skins. Again, skins might be a great way for World of Tanks to monetize. But again, whole different kind of worms I want to touch on later. But again, guys, just see how much changes there are to different champions and different items. And I just want to explain to you that sometimes they're not even changing a lot. Like 5% more attack speed is little. It's not really much. 5 AD or attack damage more is not enough. I know that most of you won't understand those numbers anyway, but I've played that game. I've played that game decently enough. And I'm not the best player. I'm just reaching gold, which is okay. But those things are not huge changes in most things. And now let's have a look at World of Warships. The game which comes from the same company like World of Tanks. And this was after they introduced a huge change to aircraft carriers. Basically, the artillery of World of Warships. Just that it used to be even more broken, huge skill gap, and if you had a trash aircraft carrier in your team and the enemy had a good one, it was basically lost because an aircraft carrier was able to win so very, 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 very easily. Like, not easily, but it could carry a game immensely. It's the same if it would say you have a good scout player on Malinovka or Prokhorovka, while the enemy has a potato trash tanker. That's basically what those aircraft carriers were before that 8.1 update. And 8.1.1 is, I think, kind of a hot fix to change some things which they overtune. As far as I know and what I've read in subreddits, those aircraft carriers are still rather strong and can put on constant pressure. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, when you have like a budget arty which deals like 200 damage but can shoot every 10 seconds, but without a reload, basically. Or actually, those new aircraft carriers are basically a Bachatillon tier 10 artillery. Those are like, if you want to have an something to compare to World of Tanks. But interesting enough, I'm getting a cup of tea because my throat starts to hurt again. Funny enough, we have a changelog about a lot of different things. Changing different planes to have different aim, I don't know, to be faster with aiming. Preparation time till when those torpedoes start to go boom. Reduce damage, and so on and so forth. So, I think you already spotted what I want to call out right now. And that's the lack of changes to tanks in World of Tanks. So, let's have a look at the history. 1.4. We have, changes to special reward tanks. I don't really want to talk about reward tanks or premium tanks that well, because those are a minority of the game, or minority of the tanks in the game, except for 907s, obviously, because broken tank, whatever else. No, I want to have a look at normal tanks. Tanks which normal players can get without paying the dosh. So, here we have nothing. We basically just have the Chimera buffs, the very, 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 very bad, in my opinion, 9279 buffs, and the introduction of those French wheeled vehicles. You might also argue, but Raging, why are there no changes to the French vehicles in 1.4.1? I do have to point out that I think that in 1.5 or 1.4.2, depending how they want to do their numeration, I do think that at that point they can do changes to wheeled vehicles, because at the moment you do have a lot of good players. I think even Quickie Baby has a tier 10 tank, I have the tier 10 tank, and a lot of good players already have the tier 10 tank. You could even see it in those brawl games for Soldiers of Fortune that they were used. So a decent amount of high-skilled players play those vehicles at a ridiculous extent. Like, getting the third mark was constantly having 4.8k combined damage, meaning even on maps like Himmelsdorf and Paris. So it's hard. It's really hard. Yes, also there are potatoes which just free XP their tank, etc., etc. But I do think that there needs to be at least one update cycle till you can balance those new vehicles. Yes, you could change the lower tiers, like tier 6 and tier 7, because more people already have them. This is what they could do in 1.4.1. Tier 8, 9, and 10 might be a little bit hard because there's a lot smaller base of players having those vehicles. Anyway, well, nothing here. No changes to normal vehicles. What about 1.3? Changes to those premium reward vehicles, which, as already said, I'm not going to count, as well as premium tanks, which, again, some people really dislike those change. So, no change either to normal tanks. Problematic, in my personal opinion. 1.2, changes to some maps reworked in HD, yes, changes to exterior interfaces, clan-related changes, like making a clan which is just 1,000 credits, 1 million credits instead of 2,500 gold. Adding the IS3A to test for super testers. Oh, and here we have the changes for premium tanks, the KV5, and so on and so forth. But yet again, no changes to normal vehicles. I guess you start to see the pattern, do you guys? 1.1, do we have here changes to normal vehicles? No, we get introduced to the 60 TPs and the Kurvo mobiles. They changed the IS to M, apparently. Oh, no, never mind. They just changed an error with the display from 580 to 610, which correspond to actual value. So this is not a change. No balancing change. Yes. Now we are 1.0.2. Oh yeah, introduction of those K91 and Object 277 and some premium tanks. Oh, guys, finally found it. Here are changes to tanks. Here are the changes to the 430 version 2. Well, those are changes because they introduced the K91. But here we actually have nerfs to the Object 268 version 4. This is the update. This was the update where they actually changed a tank. One tank, which was not new or had to be completely redone, which was already in the game. After 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we had to search 5 updates to finally find where they changed one tank. But it goes on. 1.0.1. And this was just one vehicle. Here we get introduced to the Italian Spaghetto tanks. Here have some changes to, again, those reward vehicles. Oh, and some changes to the Italian tanks, which were introduced to the test server. So those were just balancing changes on the test server. But here we actually have changes to French vehicles. Three vehicles will be changed, which are not premium tanks. Holy macaroni. That's interesting. 1.0, actually nothing, because it was the update which was so hyped because of the beautiful graphics. And lastly, 9.22, which was the introduction of those vehicles, of those Zone 5, 430U, and 268 version 4. So, you got some changes to premium tanks. Again, I don't really want to count those, but we got In total, now 5, I think, if I didn't. Yeah, we have 5 changes so far, because this one is also a change not based on anything like a rebalancing or a mix-up of different vehicles. And no, never mind, we might have some changes here. No. In total, after 1, 2, 3, 4, damn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now 9. In 9 updates, we had changes to normal existing vehicles in the tech tree, counting up to 5. Do you see where I see the problem with 1.4.1? I do not understand how wargaming is just blindfolded, that they do not care or do not want to change even small things. I would love to see wargaming doing more update cycles. Like, honestly, if it's necessary, make 3 updates, make 1 update every 3 weeks if it's necessary. I don't, like, honestly, we can have a look at the EU server statistics now on the What Live. They're probably not the most accurate because those stats are very well hidden. But the first tank, which is not premium or not reward, is the EBR 105. So here again we have the problem, a lot of skilled players are playing this tank, but also a lot of players which use free experience. So this tank should be subject to looking into rebalancing. But you know, the second tank, which is not a reward vehicle, is the Object 268 version 4 with a almost 54% win rate. And make a guess, the next tank is the best Russian heavy tank, the Object 430U, with a 52% win rate. Then we got the WZ5A, the Type 5 Heavy, and surprisingly STB1. I don't know what it's doing here, but just bear in mind that those tanks were introduced, I think, a year ago. And they're still rocking solid win rates over this on the server, being the highest non-reward tanks, except for the EBI, which just introduced recently. And this blows my mind. How is that possible? And wargaming wants to be a game or a company which is successful. This is not how you are freaking successful. Like, if you don't give a fucking shit about your game, about your balancing in the game, then just leave it. And just don't introduce any premium tanks anymore. Just leave it with premium count, period. Let the game die. Because at the moment, you're showing that you give a little to no fucking shit about the balancing. And now you might bring as an, as a argument, but Raging, they said that they want to change different vehicles, like the Krankenwagen, like the E100, Leopard 1, STB1, etc., etc. And yes, I do see those changes, and they promise that they're going to change the matchmaker, and lucky to them, this week, this changes will be shown on the EU server. I hope they're not going to show them during Frontline, because that makes little to no sense at all. But again, it might look like they're trying. But one thing I simply do not understand. Yes, we got now a tidbit of changes to the Kranwagen, which again, I think they are good changes because they're small changes. They're not huge changes which could break or make the tank in an instant. Like, those are the changes I want to see. Those are tiny changes which can easily be redone in an upcoming update. Like, why? Why suddenly the Grillo 15 used to be one of the best TDs in the game, but now it's rock solid, almost on the bottom. The WZ is introduced ages ago, and it has a 48% win rate, and Wargaming doesn't give a goddamn fucking shit about it. Like, honestly, they could try to give it the treatment they did with the Object 268. Give it probably a little bit of faster shell velocity. This would make the tank a lot better. Or maybe just think about giving it, instead of 80, 100mm flaps, and try and look how it affects the tank. This is legit something which just blows my mind. Why the hell does Wargaming not want to introduce minor and small balancing changes? And if you want to argue, oh, they're going to make a huge balancing update, that's not gonna work. It's just too much, especially in a game where we have a +-2 matchmaking. Where you have so many different combos of tanks which can look at each other. And now just one last article. Yes, it might be biased because I searched for something like this, but this article calls "Why is League of Legends the most popular PC game in the world?" And I think this one is probably the best example or best write-up of everything. Constant updates and changes and balancing to make this game play-worthy. Like that they are changing game mechanics, changing minor things on different champions, minor things on different tanks when you want to compare to World of Tanks. And just so you know, this article is from 2012. Well, not really 7 years, not yet. In August it will be 7 years ago. But 7 years ago, League of Legends was not that big. And now it's a huge game. Yes, it lost a lot of players after they made huge changes, yet they still try. And again, every single update they show, there are so many changes, small, minor changes most of the time, to champions, to balance out their win rate. Their win rate basically. Where meanwhile here, Leopard 1 for ages had no changes at all. Grill 15 getting nerfed to the ground, no changes at all. Rheinmetall being rebalanced some months ago, I think even years now, and it rocks a solid 46.86% win rate. It's, yeah. Honestly, I don't know what to say anymore. Hence why I drink a cup of tea right now. But do you get me, guys? Do you get me why I think 1.4.1 is a bad update? It just shows the trend wargaming is going at the moment, not giving a shit about their balancing. Seriously, so many updates we've had, and we had in total 5 changes to in-game vehicles you could normally grind. Normal tanks. Not premiums and not reward vehicles. 5 changes over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 updates. Over 8 updates. 5 changes to normal, non-premium, non-reward tanks. You can't make this shit up. Seriously. One last thing, I should just put it into perspective. When it was released, update 9.2. It was released in 2008, 1 year ago. Like almost 1 year ago. And in 1 year, we had 5 changes to non-premium, non-reward tanks. Well fucking done, Wargaming. Well fucking done. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to the whole video for me. 23 minutes ranting and just saying my personal opinion on how this game is evolving at the moment. Again, we saw promising changes. The change to the 268, I personally think those were great because they are small and they're just like testing their waters, like, yeah, let's change a tiny bit. Let's see how it changes the tank's behavior, tank's win rate. This is good. We need more such changes, Wargaming. Do not rely on one big update to change everything and then mess up even harder. So please, don't take this me saying you are a shit company or anything. Just me I'm a concerned, not only customer, but also fan of the game. I've wasted too much time into this game, too much money into this game, yet I still play it. Yet I still have people like you watching it and maybe supporting my view. And it's just like, it's exhausting. Like seriously, it's exhausting to see over and over and over that there is no balance change at all. There's nothing to maybe stop the reign of 430 U's, of 277s, of Type 5, WZ5As, 268 version 4s. Nothing. Over 1 year span. Well, 268 version 4 got nerfed and there are a lot less tanks around. So yeah, I do hope seeing in 1.4.2 or 1.5, how you want to call it, changes. If it's the Kranwagen changes, well, at least it's something. But I want to see something else. Give us a view into your workings. Say we have had a look at the EBR line. We had a look at the wheeled vehicles line. And we came to the conclusion that the tier 10 tank after one update or two update cycles looks a little bit too strong. We're going to nerf this and this and this parameter, while the tier 6 tank, for example, looks a little bit too slow. So we're going to change this and this and this and this and that. This is what I want to see. Explaining why and minor changes. Okay? And don't try to do everything in one big sweep. It won't work. And the problem is a lot of people will just oppose them and you're not going to change anything. So make smaller changes, minor changes. Maybe piss off the Kranwagen community, but don't piss off the whole tier 10 community, which is playing tier 10s. Thank you so much for watching. If you support my message, feel free to like the video, feel free to comment. Feel free to comment in the video and say why I'm wrong. What is your opinion? I want to hear that. And lastly, if you support my message or my view, feel free to share the video with your friends, your clanmates, or anything else. Thank you so much for watching. I guess I'm going to go back into the bed now after ranting for better part of 25 minutes. And I'll talk to you all later. Bye, guys.